Hello friends, as you know, my commentary appears in the Atmore Advance on a weekly basis. Every Wednesday it comes out in print, and the Advance also features for the visually impaired. They feature an audio version which is sort of a computer voice reading, and so I've asked them if they would not also include on the published edition in the newspaper also an audio reading of the editorial in my own voice. And so the paper does feature that, and for those of you who do not subscribe to the paper, we've been posting the commentary in audio form on our YouTube channel. You can go to Lloyd and Friends, and I've started a second channel called Lloyd Commentaries and Stories, and so you'll find that there. Well, this week we're going to try something a little new and see how it works. I had a couple of friends suggest to me that the commentaries might be more enjoyable if I added a video to it, and so we're going to try that. Hopefully the video and the audio come through okay. It's a little bit harder to do because every dimension you add when you're doing these media tricks it's a little bit harder in the editing and managing and so forth. So hopefully this will work. We'll try it. Let me know what you think. This week's editorial, I'm going to read it as best I can. Because I don't have access to the studio help of cue cards and all of that. So I'm going to be reading this from my computer screen, and I'll do the best I can. Hopefully you will enjoy it this way. Please again let me know if the audio is just as good, because if it is, it's a lot less troublesome. But if this works, then we're going to do it. Okay, and here we go. This week's editorial is entitled, Not Who Cares, but Who Cares Who Cares? I'll see if I can explain that. When I was young, there was no internet or email, so people communicated by writing letters to one another. We called ourselves pen pals back then. When we got older and left home for college or military service, in my case, we wrote love letters to our girlfriends back home, and just regular old buddy letters to our pals who were away in the military, or maybe away to another college or something like that. We all wrote letters. I wrote letters to my mother and father, telling them of all my exciting adventures, and they wrote me back of all the things that were happening on the home front. And boy, I look forward to getting their letters. Our letters were mostly handwritten in those days and were often several pages long, sometimes as much as 15 or 20 pages. Most of them were written on lined notebook paper, but many were written on a lighter weight, finer parchment paper. A little heavier than maybe onion skin, but it was made and designed for letter writing, and a lot of the girls may have used that, but most people just wrote on regular lined notebook paper. Letters were usually in those days arrived. They were fat, full of pages, folded over a couple of times, and the envelope was just covered with postage stamps. I don't remember what it cost to mail a letter back then, but you know, sometimes we'd use those 3-cent stamps and just cover the whole letter with them. Wives and girlfriends would sometimes splash a little dab of perfume on the envelope to kind of make their letters especially enticing. And how enticing it was. Oh, how exciting it was in those days to receive a hefty, hand-addressed personal letter, especially with a little perfume on it. It was something worth running to the mailbox or to the mailroom for, and hurrying to, after you got your mail, hurry into a private corner to savor it and read it over and over again. A lot of girls kept old love letters in a shoebox. or something of that sort for enjoying years later. Guys didn't keep love letters too much. Girls often did. And they kept them and read them in the years following. That is, in the event they happened to marry the boy who had written the letters. Otherwise, I wouldn't think that would have been a very good idea. I don't know how they would have pulled that off. In any event, as my enjoyment of letter writing developed, I began to slip little pieces of extraneous comment into each letter. Stories, opinions, philosophical meanderings, if you will, just to make them a little more entertaining. Boy, I'll tell you, mothers make the best audiences when it comes to letter writing. When you write a letter home to mama, you know she's going to squeeze all the joy and happiness she can out of each and every word you write. I used my mother and all my friends and family and loved ones to practice my writing skills on, and I anxiously awaited a response letter. Years later, after I had written quite a large number of stories and poems, and I had them in manuscript form, I decided to publish them, and so I did that under the title The All Britain Letters. Because, well, letter writing, that's where it kind of all began for me. The All Britain Letters, by the way, it can be purchased on Amazon.com. Just go on there, Amazon.com, and put my name in, Lloyd Allbritton. And you can buy it, either hard copy or digital download. A lot of good stories and poems in there I think you'll enjoy, so hope you give it a try. Letter writing has always been kind of therapeutical for me as well. The process of editing and crafting my words and sentences to articulate just my precise thoughts on paper seems to have the effect of sorting and clarifying my feelings and emotions in my head and in my heart as well. Since handwriting is not so easy to edit as computer text is, most of us tend to write each and every word more carefully, with more thought and consideration than, say, fingers flying across a keyboard. Consequently, each individual's uniquely crafted handwriting reflects deeper dimensions of their personalities, our personalities. You might say, kind of like the Sigmund Freud theory on the subconscious mind, or dream theories. We talked about Freud's interpretation of dreams in an earlier commentary. Letter writing, same thing. Your personality comes out in your script when you handwrite things. Social scientists have observed, and I think many of them believe, that every individual's handwriting is different. Different perhaps as individual fingerprints. And each person's handwriting can usually be instantly recognized by anybody who is familiar with it. Grammar corrections, margin notes, line throughs, strikeouts, these are all performed meticulously when you're writing a letter, so as not to clutter the page too much or to distract the reader with extraneous pen scratch. And so there's a lot of brain power goes into handwriting. Now, this rather laborious process of communicating, called handwriting, has the effect of synchronizing the hand and the brain. Not only does the physical process of handwriting reflect our individual personalities on paper, but it actually helps us to develop our personalities. Some of us may recall experimenting with our own signatures as young adults to try and discover just the right signature to represent who we are. A good example is President Reagan, who had a very famous, recognizable signature. If you should compare the familiar presidential signature of Ronald Reagan with, say, young Ron's teenage signature, it would likely look a whole lot different. Ronald Reagan didn't get to be President Reagan with just one signature. No. That famous signature was practiced and well crafted after many, many, many attempts, thousands of attempts, before he found himself in his unique signature. Now, there have been times in my life when I've had strong thoughts and ideas that just threatened to explode right out of my head. Yet, I felt restrained by feelings of unworthiness. Who cares? I would ask myself. Who cares what I think? Who cares what I have to say? Who has a need for my thoughts and ideas? I've always found the answer to these questions to be rather elusive. If value is best determined by wealth and fame, then my answer would certainly have to be a resounding nobody. That's right, nobody really cares what I think. If you judge by my wealth from my writing, which there has been none. Fortunately, wealth and fame are not the sole determinants or even the best indicators of value for the things that we do. Many wealthy and famous people have ended their own lives in despair, while millions of fans clamor to see them on stage or on the movie screen, or maybe read the words in their books. Right on the other hand, lots of other people have created wonderful and praiseworthy works of art and literature while living their entire lives and dying in poverty, only to become famous and highly valued years and years after they've already died. No, value is not about wealth and fame. No, it's not. It's not even about excellence. That is, knowing that you're the best at something, better than anybody else. I'm certainly not the best writer in the world, nor the best public speaker, not even close. So, once again, I come around to asking myself, why do I bother to write my little newspaper commentaries and record my little podcast on the internet? Why do I bother to write books, which relatively few people are ever going to read? Who cares? I'm an expert at absolutely nothing, so who really wants to know what I have to say? Well, I can answer that question. I can tell you why, and I can tell you who. It's because every now and then, once in a blue moon, somebody will walk up to me and they'll say, Lloyd, I really liked what you said. Or Lloyd, you said something that made me think and change something in my life. Well, that's all it takes to keep me going. I'm like an obnoxious child. If you just as much as look my way, I'll continue to misbehave. I do it. I do what I do just for that one. Just for that one in a million, that once in a blue moon. That's enough for me. I believe there are probably lots of other folks sort of like me who feel passionate about one thing or another. Maybe it's drawing, or maybe it's sculpture, or maybe it's music, whatever. People who feel passionate about one thing or other that they do, who are artistically bent and talented and good at what they do, but they've never made enough money at it to fill a tin cup. To these people, I'd like to invite you to do what I do. Instead of asking yourself, who cares, ask, who cares, who cares? If nobody else but your own mother likes what you do, keep on doing it. If only one person in your whole lifetime enjoys or benefits from something you're doing, why, it's enough to keep doing it. At least that's what I think.